Well, today I get to hang out in Donaldson with Derek Johnson at JVI Secret Gardens. And Derek is a master certified aquascape contractor. And we're going to talk about water features and the maintenance involved in taking care of those features.
That's a big deal.
I'm going to guess that maintenance on this is probably pretty minimal.
Yes, minimal is the key word. And when I receive a call from a client, that's typically what they want a low maintenance water feature.
Sure.
And it doesn't get any easier than this. I mean, there's a basin underneath, there's a mechanical pump. As you can see, it's fall of the year and we got leaves around the basin, and it doesn't affect the water flow at all. And if you have a little bit of algae that starts to grow on the rocks, you can just cut this one off and let it sit off for a day. The algae will dry up. You can take a hose and just wash it right off. So it's really simple.
25 square feet, 5 by 5, 6 by 6.
Yep.
You could have this anywhere.
Absolutely, and it could actually be in a smaller footprint than this. We oversized it just a hair, so if you see how the splash is going down, it could actually be tightened up for that really, really small space.
Small spot.
So let's say you want to go out of town, you want to take a vacation. Hit a switch, just shut it off, no concerns. If there's any liability, you're afraid maybe a neighbor or something comes into the yard while you're away, it's off, it's totally safe.
It's completely safe.
Yeah.
And am I right that they actually even have a little remote control switch now for some of these things?
It's so cool how things have gotten technical. You know, we're natural, organic, but yes, you have a key fob that you can actually just hit the key fob, shut it on and off. And not only that, if you want to impress your friends, it actually you can crank it up and down. So it's an adjustable pump. So if your buddies come over and you want to show off, crank it up, and it's the Bellagio. If you want to chill things out and relax, just turn it down and it's subtle.
That's fantastic. Again, we're looking at a pondless water feature here where the water's all rolling down into a basin that's underground.
Yes.
And I'm going to assume then that the maintenance on something like this is very similar to the system that we just looked at, where really a spring cleanup.
Right.
And a little leaf maintenance once in a while to keep it neat and tidy is really about it. Are there any animals that are problematic for these systems, and how do we sort of combat that?
Sure. So with the pond scenario, obviously the heron.
Yeah.
That's always but that's not a lot we can do about that one.
Exactly.
You know, he's the patient hunter. When it comes to whether it's a pond or pondless, chipmunks. Chipmunks can definitely be a concern. So this is a rubber liner, and as I understand it, chipmunks, their teeth are constantly growing, so they just chew, and they're always trying to, I guess, whittle down the tooth. So it's not that they're attracted to the liner, but if you're a chipmunk, I mean, this is a pretty sweet place to live. You know, you've got your plant life, you've got your water source, so they'll literally, if they're in the area, they'll burrow in, and they'll get on the side, and they can chew through the liner and the hosing. So what we do upon installation is we literally take a metal mesh, and we also put down a protective fabric to protect the liner, but there's a metal mesh that goes in between. So if the chipmunks were to take up residence and chew, they're going to find the metal mesh and move on. So what I look for, it's actually interesting. It's very common for people to put bird feeders in beside their water feature to attract the birds. Well, the chipmunks love the same food source. So
the chipmunks are also attracted to that bird seed.
So that's I try to encourage when we come across that to ask the client to move the bird feeder away, to maybe draw the chipmunk away. Because does it happen? 2% of the time. Right. But it is relevant.
But it is relevant.
Yes.
It can happen. Let's address just for a second the installation, and more importantly maybe the maintenance of something like this. There's a hole in the ground. There is a basin that sits underneath this lowest bowl.
Yes.
And beyond that, it's just a recirculating pump. So what are the pieces and parts that may need some maintenance over the life of this feature?
Sure. So you do have just a small mechanical pump that's within that basin, has a little housing it drops into. So the access is relatively easy. Just pull the gravel back and get in it. Sure. But you know, it's a mechanical part. It's at some point it is going to fail.
Right.
There is warranties that come with these, but at some point it's going to fail and you just replace the pump. There's really not. A spring cleaning is always recommended, like with any water feature.
Sure.
Here, you just drain the water, pull the pump out, inspect the pump, make sure the impeller's clear, drop it back in, fill it back up, and we're ready for another season.
But then we graduate up to a pond with a waterfall, those kinds of things. How does the maintenance change with something like this?
So there is a little bit more maintenance, but it's still kind of the same concept. It's going to be on the lower maintenance side. With our skimmer setups and how this functions, and I can show you right here, this is a faux stone. So inside here, we actually have a skimmer basket, and then our pump and everything is down underneath. So as leaves hit the water surface, it actually draws into the skimmer basket. And really the maintenance on this is depending on the time of the year. You truly just take this basket out and simply you can just dump it right out. And that's all the leaves that accumulated. And you just slide
and
it back in.
It just slides right back in.
It's really that simple. So depending on the time of the year, you're probably going to need to check it a little more. In the spring, when we have a spring flush of leaves, the winds, it's going to hit the water. So, you check it once or twice a day. It's maybe once a week. But during the summer,
right,
it's really nothing going on.
And you mentioned leaf fall, and you have a really unique setup here to capture the leaves from falling into this particular pond.
Right.
What's the advantage of this versus, most of the time when we see it, somebody's gone out and bought some bird netting somewhere and just draped it over the top of the pond.
Exactly.
What's your advantage here to using this?
So it's a couple of things. Definitely when, the old traditional style, just throw the net over the pond, it actually works for a little bit, but once those leaves hit it and it gets heavy, then it actually sags into the water. And not only that, you get the tannins from the leaves.
Right.
So then it gets into the water. So this was kind of like one of those things we just came up with. Out camping and setting up the tent, and the bows are growing across, and it just kind of clicked.
Right.
I was like, wow, if we could create that across the pond and drape the net, it'll keep those leaves obviously out of the water, and it also sheds to the sides. And then aesthetically, it's much more pleasing. We actually have some clients, but once we've installed it this way, they've decided to keep it up.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
because it really does from a distance especially, it just sort of disappears. The netting's not that visible. Now in this particular situation, are your poles removable?
They are. It's absolutely, we've taken rebar and we've actually drove it in on the edges, the perimeter of the pond. And this is just Schedule 80 pipe that you get at a plumbing supply house.
Okay.
And you just drape it across, and so this could come off in 10 minutes. We could have this thing completely taken off.
So
and
this
stored
is
away.
just PVC.
It is. Yeah.
It's just flexible. You've just bent it into this shape, one spot to the other, and it sort of has crossed my mind that in the annual maintenance of a water feature, you do have some points at which you sort of clean out the pond, if you will, once or twice a year, and maybe there's an added benefit in that. This pond water, which has good fish emulsion and things in it, is beneficial for other parts of the garden. True?
Absolutely, agreed. Yes, it's definitely. So spring cleaning, you come in, you drain the pond, but there's so much, wonderful nutrients exactly from the fish emulsion. You don't want us to go to waste. So anytime we come to a client's yard, or if the homeowner wants to do it themselves, you pump that water. Put it in your perennial gardens.
Right.
Water your lawn with it. I've never measured, the NPK on this, but every time we do a clean out and we drop the hose out in the yard or we water the plants, the client always tells us that it's beneficial. We'll even come back sometimes and then that part of the lawn that the water was dispersed in, it's greener.
It's greener.
So why not use it? And
exactly.
You can go a step farther and on these water features, and we're getting, definitely to the technical side, but you can add a basin, an underground basin, anywhere from 500 to 5,000 gallons, whatever you want, that this will constantly circulate through. You can tap into that water and use it for irrigation. You can actually use it for gray water if you wanted to. So it's a nice little add-on, and they're again more filtration.
More filtration, and again a benefit to the larger garden, the larger landscape potentially.
Could you imagine watering your garden with this regularly?
I mean it would be great.
It'd be unbelievable.
You're going to be out of control.
Unbelievable. right.
Well, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes
Absolutely.
to show us some of these different pond and pondless water features for people's landscapes and gardens, and we appreciate you taking your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.